In 1947 and 1948, the world turned its attention to the birth of a new state. An older story was being erased. Over 700,000 Palestinians, men, women, and children, were driven from their homes. Entire villages wiped from the map. Families scattered. And yet, in the eyes of Christian Zionists, this was not a tragedy. It was prophecy fulfilled. For decades, Christian Zionist teachings have done more than justify Israeli expansion. They have actively endorsed the displacement and suffering of an entire people. Every demolished home, every confiscated acre of land, every checkpoint, every airstrike, seen not as a crime against humanity, but as the divine will of God. Under this theology, ethnic cleansing is not just ignored, it is sanctified. But the consequences do not stop at the occupation of Palestinian land. Within Israel itself, even Jews have not been spared. The Mizrahi Jews, descendants of Jewish communities from the Middle East and North Africa, found themselves in a nation that saw them as outsiders in their own homeland. To the secular Ashkenazi Zionist elite, descendants of European Jews, the Jewish identity of Mizrahim was inconvenient, too Arab, too foreign. The dream of Israel, they were told, was not their dream. Their history erased. Their culture suppressed. Because beneath the banner of Zionism lay another unspoken reality. This was not about faith. It was about power. And who got to define what it meant to be Jewish? For over a century, Christian Zionism has shaped history from the shadows, its theological roots buried in the margins of Scripture, its political impact felt in the rubble of occupied cities. This is not just a story about faith, it is a story about power. This documentary traces the origins of Christian Zionism from the Schofield Reference Bible, a book that redefined prophecy, to the modern-day policies of persecution, apartheid, and expansionism that have followed in its wake. But this is more than a history lesson. This is an unmasking. For too long, Christian Zionism has hidden behind the language of biblical truth, a movement that claims to defend Israel while trampling over its own moral foundations. By dissecting its theological contradictions and exposing its role in fostering extremism, justifying apartheid, and weaponizing sacred texts for territorial conquest, we aim to do what few dare to do. To pull back the curtain, to separate Zionism from Judaism, to separate Christian faith from political propaganda, and most importantly, to reclaim the real message of biblical justice. For the displaced, for the oppressed, for those who refuse to be erased. Time of silence is over. Thank you for tuning in to Metanoia Minds. This is the true story of Christian Zionism. Christian Zionism did not emerge in a vacuum. Its origins lie not in ancient scripture, but in the ambitions of empire, the dreams of preachers, and the strategies of political visionaries. By the 19th century, the world was changing. Nations were rising and falling, and the great European empires were carving up the globe. But beneath the surface, something else was unfolding, a radical new interpretation of biblical prophecy, one that would reshape geopolitics for generations to come.